Well, hey there. I hope your deer season is going well. Mine's going pretty good. But I wanted to give you a couple of tips to maximize your small tract of land whitetail pursuit. The first thing is you need to know your land. Ours, since it's on a hill, it presents some unique topography because we have a draw, a pretty steep and sizable draw on the south end that ends our property, and a really steep, almost cliff type draw on the north end that ends our property. And in between we have two other draws, one that goes all the way up to the base of the property, and one that's really steep and deep but doesn't go all the way to the east boundary line. So we have basically one spur, two spurs, and three spurs on our property. So because these draws are so deep and the spurs run all the way out to the road, the deer do not traverse along the road from north to south or south to north. So knowing your topography is the first most important thing. Then knowing how many deer you have that frequent your area. I have 12 bucks on trail camera, and I have about 20 does on trail cam. Obviously on a small tract of land you're not going to hold deer. So you have to know your topography, how the deer travel through your property. If it's just a big open field, obviously that's going to be completely different than my little 25 acres of ridge line and woods. Know your topography first. Know how many deer approximately travel through. The south end here is where the house is at. The north end is not where there's any dwellings real close to that. So the bigger bucks usually I see on trail cam come from the north end. And I have had several interesting and good quality mature bucks come through. And a lot of small spikes and 4 points and 6 points. So know your topography, know how many deer and how they travel across your property. And secondly, or thirdly, you got to know the food sources. So you have to know your topography, you have to know how many deer. You can come in. You can stand here. You have to know how many, my hunting buddy and my fishing buddy, Lisa, hanging out with me this morning. You have to know how many deer approximately you have that frequent your area, and you have to have a food source. You have to have something for them to come to. I'm blessed here with over a dozen persimmon trees that are growing wild on this ridgeline, and I also have dozens of mature white oaks, as well as several other hardwoods that the deer obviously use as one of their primary food sources. And it's gotten better in the last 3 years because adjacent properties have been logged and removed a lot of those mature white oaks and red oaks. know your topography, know how many deer there are approximately, know how they travel, either through or around your property, and know the food sources and supplement those as is legal in your area to help maximize that. And then finally, stay out of your area as best as you can. This year, we kept our dog in more because she's a black lab and she's got a whole lot of hunt and drive in her, and she really thinks she can catch a deer. She thinks she can catch a rabbit, and she has, even at 8 years old. So she's got a whole lot of hunt and drive.
She likes the skunks too.
And she hates, Lisette, my daughter here, says she hates skunks.
No, I said Bella likes to get stunks.
Yes, Bella likes to get stunks. Bella's our dog. Bella, when I say hates skunks, I'm not saying she's afraid of them. I'm saying when she smells one, she goes and kills it, because she got sprayed a couple years ago, and since then she has made it her personal objective to eradicate skunks from off the face of the earth. And so if there's a skunk,
and then when you would buy it, and then she ate it.
yeah, she shreds them. She doesn't just snap their neck. She absolutely destroys them and leaves nothing but pieces of fur and skunk guts everywhere, and in the road, in the hedgerow, wherever. So we've kept Bella in this year, and that's helped the deer frequent the little field here beside the house, this little flat part up here above the house that's just got some grass. It's a little recreation area for since we don't have any flat ground here on our ridge line. And so you have to stay out of the spots that you want the deer to frequent. On that north end this year, I stayed out of it almost exclusively. Now, you still want to go around and check your property lines to make sure no one's trespassing or setting up stuff on yours. But at the same time, you don't need to go up there all the time. So I left that whole section alone most of the late summer and fall. I brushed in some blinds in the at one point on that middle spur, and I cut a couple of other shooting lanes, made sure they were maintained on that north pop-up blind. But other than that, I pretty much stayed out of the woods and let the deer do their thing up there. And as I've said before, they know where you're at. The first mature doe I shot up there on that north pop-up blind, I sprayed a little doe pea as a cover scent for me. But I'll show you this little clip here. When she came in, she smelled each of the spots where I sprayed that doe pea because she knew there was a new deer there. She also went and smelled the 550 cord, the paracord, on my trail camera, because I had just retied that, and I had readjusted it, and I had checked the SD card the day prior. And so she still went and smelled that to see how long it had been since I'd been at that trail camera. The wind was obviously right. She couldn't smell me from the blind, and that's obviously important. But I left that area alone because the deer know what's supposed to be there. Small tracts of land. Know your topography. Know how many deer are there. Know their travel routes. Know their food sources. Supplement where legal and when legal. And stay out of as many of those areas as you can. Those are my tips to help you maximize your small tract land whitetail pursuit. And even here on this small 25 acres, it's gotten better over the last few years as I've implemented some of these practices here. I haven't got any good bucks off the property. I take mostly does, but the quality of bucks has increased each year that I've seen in my trail cams. And so one of these years, I'll get one of those big boys on the ground. I hope this has been educational, informative. I hope you've learned a little bit from this little lesson on small track whitetail pursuit. Get out there and find your little slice of heaven and put a couple deer on the ground. I'm Daniel, the Low Budget Outdoorsman. God bless.